Welcome, everyone. Nolan, Bitcoiner, another episode of The Breakup. Um, Back at home now, waiting to get to the farm in Vermont. But we'll be airing here probably till Christmas. Maybe a little trip to New York in the meantime, but finish with Lisbon, finish with Toronto, and everyone's happy and safe back here. So today's episode is a fun one. It's really more about the let's call it environment we're in. It's almost like a type of nihilism. It's almost like a type of hopelessness or futility in the face of even gains or optimism. It's an argument that you're breaking up with a system that simply has no will to live and simply has no more vigor. And I'm hoping I can show that today with three examples of that nihilism really seeping into short-term outlooks, long-term outlooks, and even when you look back for a few minutes. So today's reasons for breakup start with a news fail. So there were some municipal elections in the United States. Boston was one city in particular, and they had a really diverse set of candidates. All good, right? Normally, the mainstream media would be celebrating the diversity of the candidates. Wow, no white people. That's great. I think it's great. Like I don't think you have to have a white person on the roster to run for any office. I don't think it's mandatory. I don't think you gain any diversity by insisting on a token white person. So happy that this city has found some amazing candidates, right? And they all ran. Now, let's look at the result, right? So normally you should celebrate this, right? I've been told we should celebrate this. So what happened is a Asian woman won. It's great, right? An Asian woman won. Her problem is, and why the media isn't so happy about this, and why they have to twist it and look back and say this is a problem with that. So she won. She's the mayor of Boston. She's the first ever person of color. I hope that's okay. I put the of in, so it's good, right? I didn't say colored person. It's a person of color, right? So I got the of. So she's the first person of color to be a mayor of this major city. But the news decided that because there were African American candidates, I don't know how many, I think three, but they lost, right? So NPR decided that the number one story is, oh, it's great. There's this Asian woman who won, but it's really not a victory for diversity because all these African Americans are really disappointed, right? So they've decided that Boston is still kind of racist, and I think they're kind of ahead, or at least complying with the local experts, the universities, because the local experts, the universities in Boston, is a big university town, right? My city of Montreal and Boston, I believe, are the two cities with the most higher education institutions within their municipal boundaries of any two cities in North America, right? So real academic cities. So there's a real sway academia holds in Boston at Harvard and MIT and Boston College and the UMass system and all that stuff. Great schools, they say, great schools. However, even today, those schools count Asian people as white people for the purposes of um, um, positive discrimination for school, right? Now, I'm for positive discrimination. I mean, to a certain point, for sure, right? But I'm not really for, if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna focus on it, why do you mix people randomly because of success? I'm not sure. But it's a bit strange. So, look, the point here is that if you're looking for a reason to break up, understand that this whole narrative will always look for what's incomplete. It'll always look for the dark side, the shadowy side, right? And we like to keep on the sunny side, right? Always on the sunny side. And I think most Bitcoiners do have that optimistic outlook towards the future for that reason, right? We're not bound to always look at our current state and find the reason to be miserable about it, right? And it looks like in this case in Boston, and you can find examples of this pretty regularly. It's not really a celebration because it didn't go exactly as we wanted. right? So it's that whole outlook. It's the whole positive outlook. It's the whole interest in a better future, an interest in a better present, right? That's what's lacking in this point of view. Another reason why you should break up. If we continue that logic further about interest in things, right? And this is the second one today, second reason to break up. It's the money fail. The money fail starts with the two major, let's call them heads of central banking in Europe and the United States. So Jerome Powell and Christine Lagarde, right? Both of them released some pretty amazing statements yesterday and about interests, right? So I continue to use the plain meaning of the word interest. I sort of learned that as I got into Bitcoin. Interests, it's taken on a very technical term, the rate at which you gain yield on money deposited and all that stuff. But just like the word currency, right? You can actually flatten these words back to their original plain meaning and get better sense out of them. You really can. You can flatten it and get a better sense. Currency, for example. What's a currency, right? To me, it's current. It's useful, right? Useful in real time. I continue, and it's got, a flow to it, right? So I've always felt that the currency aspect is very easy to satisfy for Bitcoin because it's useful in the modern world. In a digital world, there's nothing more useful than a cryptographic key directly signaling consent, intent, all these things, right? To sign with digital signatures, which are what the combination of a public and private key are, right? To manipulate the math and the algorithmic power behind a cryptographic key, to have it in your own hands is essentially like having a magic wand, right? You can unleash those things in the digital world, and that's why the magical internet money of Bitcoin, based on cryptographic keys finally being in the hands of individuals and not from a war machine, not from a corporate entity, but the key is the currency, right? Keys are currency, and that's why there's so much interest in them, right? So currency, not a crazy word, right? Easy to understand. Don't listen to those crazy academics. They're looking in the mirror when they think of currency, right? They're sitting there saying, currency. What do I see as my currency? Mirror, mirror on the wall. What is currency after all, right? These folks are just saying what currency has been in the past few years. I don't think the definition is really airtight, right? It's whatever you decide it is. It's whatever is useful, right? That's currency, right? Same as the word interest. Interest is not just a calculation made by central bankers and some ridiculous long-term bond market trickles down to commercial banking, and then that's not interest, right? Interest is who's interested. Is it interesting? Do I have interest? Do you have interest? I have an interest in your money. I lent it to you, right? What do I get back? Um, and here we get into really the crux of the situation. So you've got Christine Lagarde saying, if we raise interest in the money, if the interest in the money is raised, right, we're going to hurt the economy. Okay. Jerome Powell, the United States Federal Reserve chairman, said the same, right? So the two presidents of money, the two people that are technically most interested in their money, said, we're not going to raise interest, right? We're not going to raise interest in the money. We're going to keep interest the way it is so that you don't really want to save it, right? So we're not going to be doing the saving. You're going to be doing the getting rid of, right? Because we don't want you interested. We don't want interest in this money, right? We want to keep this money the way it is, not interesting. And the reason why you'd want to keep it not interesting is because you'd have to inflict some amount of pain on people at this point, right? Who've borrowed too much, who've taken too much money out of the future, right? But that's not what you're supposed to see, right? That's not interesting. All the borrowing that's gone on should continue. Now, what both of them argue is that this is not going to have a bad effect, that this choice is better for people and for the economy than raising interest and feeling the pain, right? So they say that the interest staying low, the new amounts of liquidity sent to the market, and what we're seeing is these massive increases, especially in food around the world, is you know that'll take care of itself, I guess, right? So remember that you're breaking up with folks who are trying to argue that inflation, runaway inflation, is not they're not capable or not willing. I guess willing, capable is another story. I think they believe themselves capable. I don't want to mind read them, but I bet they believe themselves capable. That's kind of the problem we're in here. I think they can figure this all out, right? These are people who haven't even run a laundromat who are trying to run the measuring stick of the economy and time at this point. So you know th- that's what we're in. So another reason why you should be easy for you to take the mindset that these people have to be broken up with, Lagarde and Powell. You can't be in a relationship with them. They're not interested in the same things you're interested in. All right. I'm interested in things like this last one on food, right? I like chicken wings. I eat an unbelievable amount of chicken wings. I am a hot sauce Tabasco fiend. Uh, my favorite food is actually Tabasco sauce, and I'm a hot sauce in the pocket, hot sauce in the bag. My wife keeps a hot sauce in the purse for me. She does it too. I got her addicted years ago. So I just eat chicken wings. I mean, I eat steak. I eat a lot of stuff, but chicken wings are certainly near and dear to my heart. And I'm distressed. I'm absolutely distressed, and so thankful that I had already broken up with the U.S. dollar, so it doesn't hurt my feelings as much. But with current chicken wing prices, I'm going to follow that closely on this show. It's a real thing. You got chicken wings that are being advertised at market price, right? So like ask your server for the market price, like lobster, like oh, let's go to the fancy lobster restaurant, honey. Whatever it costs. You know what I mean? That's become, oh, let's go to a fancy chicken wing restaurant. Whatever it costs. And I was just laughing with my wife. One of the first dates we went on in 2006 was a all you can eat chicken wing place. It was $5, all you can eat all night. That comes out as 25 cents a wing or something. It's still expensive, I guess. But because I've seen them cheaper in my life, that's for sure. I remember when they're free. I remember when they're 10 cents a wing, blah, blah, blah. But here we are, ask your server, and reports all over America now coming in of screenshots, pictures, doubling the price of chicken wings, etc. So for me, I remain convinced that if you're incapable psychologically of seeing a better future when you're writing about the new, or you always have to look for the negative, right? Um, and that was the case in the mayor election. When the money has been so confused with, um, or the policies have been so confused with protection that they can't admit when they're endangering, you're in a situation where you should break up, right? When it's not even, um, there is no logic, there is no reason at that point. And then the proof becomes obvious, right? If they can't be happy about things that happen that they asked for in the news, if the money sucks, you're in a world where you can't even plan dinner. You can't plan dinner. You can't plan to go out with your friends. How much money do you bring? Right? And if you're stuck in this money system, I mean, for me as a Bitcoin, I don't really care about the price of chicken wings, but I certainly care about the people who can't afford them any longer. It's a major problem, right? It's a problem for me in the end. I'm not doing this just to be virtuous, right? Eventually, um, people are going to starve and suffer, which puts a threat on me. I don't want that. I don't want to live in a world where only a few people have some Bitcoin and everyone else is starving because they've stuck with this garbage money, right? That's not a good place to be in, right? So I'm doing the show to help make sure everybody gets Bitcoin, right? I want everyone to have a little bit so you don't have to worry about planning a dinner party with your friends with some chicken wings, right? I don't want you buying pizza on layover. I don't want you using credit and lack of interest to finance Domino's pizza, which is a thing now. You can actually finance Domino's pizza. I'm not sure if it's still there or was a little bit of fake news mixed in, but anecdotally, I'm told people can finance Domino's pizza now. So, for the sake of our wings, for the sake of dinner parties, you got to break up with the U.S. dollar. And I'll work at it again tomorrow to convince you And hopefully we continue to get all these great examples. The good news about this show is that the stories are fueled by some of the biggest idiots in the world. So as long as we can get around and laugh at these morons, I think the show will always have great and energetic content that's interesting. Thanks, everyone.